This is the Audio Variety Show, Episode 2. I'm your host, Cam, and today we want to thank our sponsor making this possible this week, Poncho Villa, the leading name in revolutionary rain gear. All right, welcome to the Audio Variety Show. I'm your host, Cam. This is only our second episode, so if you're getting in when this is current, you are getting in early, and I appreciate you listening. Every week, we're going to look at a song I like, a song that's on my mind. It might be happy, it might be sad, it might be dramatic, it might be heavy, it might be soft, it might be sweet, but I can guarantee you one thing. It will be a song. This week, song of the week is Unforgiven by Sevendust. Sevendust is a hard rock or groove metal, or I've heard several other distinctions, but I think of them as groove metal. They have all the hallmarks of a metal band, including lots of double bass, lots of screaming, really personal lyrics, really aggressive tones, really aggressive riffs. So they rock that line between hard rock and metal. So I'm going to call them groove metal. Might call them hard rock. Let's put it this way. Sirius plays them both on Octane and on Liquid Metal. So whatever. Point is, Sevendust is awesome. And the song I'm going to talk about is Unforgiven. Pretty new song. Came out on their most recent album, All I See Is War. Members are Lejean Witherspoon on vocals. Actually shook hands with the guy once. Pretty awesome. He was on stage. He's reaching down. You know how it goes. On drums, you have Morgan Rose, my drum hero, actually, at this point. He himself would describe himself as a banger and not a shredder, and often compliments the skills of people who can just really do like really fast-paced, really long-lasting, just like, I'm trying to think of how to describe it. I don't know. Lots of double bass, lots of crazy runs. He compliments that stuff. He throws that in his fills. Honestly, I feel like he's a lot more musical than some of the guys he kind of defers to if you hear him talk. But anyway, I actually met him briefly in Birmingham, Alabama. He was performing with, what were they called? Him and Clint. What do they call it? Call Me No One. He was performing with Call Me No One. And Nonpoint was actually headlining. If you can call it headlining, they were at like a, not like a little bar, but not like a arena or even a big stage. It was a specific concert venue. It's actually my favorite type of place to go to watch shows, where it's not some smoke-filled bar, but it's also not some giant arena. It's just a nice sized little concert venue. It was cool. Anyway, met him there. I don't think I actually met Clint. Why did I not meet Clint? Anyway, on guitar, Clint Lowry. He wasn't on guitar for a while. First time I actually saw Sevendust live, he had gone off to play with his brother in Dark New Day. So Sonny Mayo was actually playing with them. First time I saw them, spring break, 2005, I think. Was that right? Yeah, sounds right. Next was the album that was out at that point. Anyway, so Clint Lowry on guitar. Also on guitar, John Connolly. Scary looking dude. Yeah, they're all pretty scary looking dudes. But John Connolly, man, dude looks like he could break you in half. Apparently he was a drum corps guy, which is kind of awesome. I think he played snare, whatever it was. March drum corps is cool. He's actually a drummer for drum corps, but he's a a guitarist for Seven Dust and for Projected. Then on bass, we have Vince Hornsby, who is hilarious. He and Morgan Rose teaming up both on stage and behind the stage is a sight to behold. So that is Seven Dust. They've been around since the late 90s, started in Atlanta, Georgia. They got that Southern sound. I don't know what a Southern sound is. I just know I like it. I like them. I like Blackstone Cherry. I like Sons of Texas. I'm just going to call it a Southern sound because that sounds like an interesting way to put it. Makes it sound like I know what I'm talking about or something. Like, yeah, that Atlanta scene back in 2004, man. All right, anyway, did I get all the members in? I think I got all the members in. I'm not sure. Okay, yeah. Those are the members of Seven Dust. If you don't know who Seven Dust is, you should check it out if you like metal or hard rock or more of a groove metal. You know, that line between... Okay, I'm not going to go through all that again. But the song of the week... I've turned this into like band of the month. But the song of the week is Unforgiven by Seven Dust. Check it out. Look it up on YouTube. They actually have an official music video, and it's actually... this is not supposed to be a backhanded compliment, though it might sound like it. It's better production value than we usually get from their music videos. It's really good, so check it out. That is Unforgiven by Seven Dust. That's the song of the week. Okay, if you were listening to the first episode, I promised you an original story coming up in this episode. A friend and I do these writing challenges where we alternate who comes up with the topic, and then we both have to write a short story within the period of 1 month that meets the criteria that the other person laid out. We both write a story for each topic, but we alternate who determines the topic. So 1 month you're writing the story for your topic, which, let's be honest, is usually because you already have an idea for that story. But then in the alternating month, you're writing according to the other person's idea. And my friend and I actually have amazingly different styles and amazingly different interests in content. So it's a lot of fun and is actually a good way to test ourselves and improve our skills. But this story ended up being pretty good, and it also ended up being really short because the challenge was to write a story where no character speaks. So there's no dialogue in this story. So being short is sort of getting around the difficulty of no character speaking. I admit it. But because it's short, I can now fit it into the podcast. So it all worked out. So I'm calling this Last Word. Here we go. Devin Winscombe slipped out of the trees and splatted through thick mud. His loafers weren't made for the terrain, and he had trouble keeping his feet. Thunder rumbled in the distance. A gust of wind whipped through the clearing and tousled his thin, stringy hair. The air was cold, coming off of the river. Winscombe pulled his briefcase close to his chest and ducked his head until his chin was pressed against the cold leather. It wasn't as comforting as he had hoped. Lightning flashed nearby, accompanied by an immediate peal of thunder overhead. The momentary light revealed a figure seated on a log just a few yards away. The man was facing away from him, toward the drop-off that led down to the river. Winscombe hesitated for a moment. The man hadn't reacted to the thunder, or to Winscombe's slurpy, gurgling footsteps. Lightning flashed again, and the man on the log still didn't move. Winscombe slowly let out a breath he didn't realize he'd been holding, and closed the distance between them. He sidestepped around the log and found himself at a 45-degree angle to the man. The man on the log was wearing a pristine gray suit, which actually looked lighter than it was, not darker, in the dim moonlight. The man in the gray suit finally looked up to his visitor. Winscombe took a step back and averted his eyes. The man in the gray suit nodded to the empty space beside him. Winscombe sat down on the log. He let the briefcase rest on his knees. Lightning lit up the clearing again. Winscombe could see that the man in the gray suit was watching him with a mild look on his lean face. Winscombe opened the briefcase. The man in the gray suit didn't look his way. Instead, he reached over smoothly and plucked something from the case. Winscombe touched the interior and found all the money was still there. The man in the gray suit had taken the photograph, the picture of Winscombe's wife. It was a good picture, a snapshot taken 6 months before. It wasn't only good because it was pleasant to look at for most people, it was completely informal. It showed her in the right light, with the right smug look on her face for the man in the gray suit to recognize her in person. Winscombe closed the case. He didn't look at the man in the suit. The man scared him. But he thought there might be more to it than that. No matter how much his wife might deserve it, no matter how much it needed to be done, there was a part of him that still wasn't sure. Thunder rumbled in the distance as the man in the gray suit returned the picture, placing it gently on top of the now shut briefcase. Winscombe turned his head to look at the man and found the man looking back at him with that same mild expression on his face. Lightning flashed again, and Winscombe saw that the man's look had actually gone from mild to somewhat pleased. Winscombe looked away again. As he did, lightning streaked across the sky directly overhead. The light reflected off the glossy surface of the photograph and drew Winscombe's attention. He frowned, and his narrow shoulders slumped to sharp triangles. He felt a sudden deep sadness come over him as he looked at his own face on the new photograph. He didn't look up as the man in the gray suit chambered around and pressed his pistol against Winscombe's temple. The man in the gray suit squeezed the trigger, and the suppressed weapon coughed out a single quiet report. Winscombe slipped silently off the log and plopped into the mud beneath. The man in the gray suit stood, holstered his weapon beneath his coat, and picked up the fallen briefcase. As the man in the gray suit ambled back into the woods, he glanced at the picture of Winscombe's wife. The picture was good, he thought, but it didn't quite do her justice. The man dropped it on the muddy, leaf-strewn ground next to the picture of her husband that she had given him the night before. Alright, so if you listened to the first episode, I promised you an original song. If you heard that, you probably thought, man, this guy must be a good singer and is probably going to give us something really meaningful and heartfelt. Well, this is called Flat Earth. Right in your water, chemtrails in the sky, Kennedys and the Rothschilds are running your life. Illuminati confirmed today in a press conference in LA. Anunnaki are coming to take us on. Get woke, people, don't be sheep. Better wake up or else you find they'll get you in your sleep. Come on to the bunker and put on your tinfoil hat. Put your money in the mattress and remember the world is flat. Jim Morrison and Elvis are alive today, doing top secret work for the NSA. Marilyn Manson and Courtney Love held a seance to talk to Stevie Ray Vaughan. He said the shadow people are coming to take us all. Get woke, people, don't be sheep. Better wake up or else you find they'll get you in your sleep. Come on to the bunker and put on your tinfoil hat. Put your money in the mattress and remember the world is flat. Messages in your music, microwaves in the air, trying to control you with the products in your hair. Might seem harmless, but don't be fooled. Jesse McCartney wants your soul. Coming through the radio, he's gonna take us all. Get woke, people, don't be sheep. Better wake up or else you find they'll get you in your sleep. Come on to the bunker and put on your tinfoil hat. Put your money in the mattress and remember that the world is flat. And that brings us to halftime. For your halftime entertainment today, we'll introduce a little radio program, a little sci-fi drama known as Irradiated Koala Llama. Irradiated Koala Llama is an AVS Media production. Our story begins on a small island off the coast of California. Military helicopters swarm the beaches. Battleships and aircraft carriers litter the waters along the coast. Where beach becomes forest, American soldiers and sailors have cordoned off a perimeter around a U-shaped indentation in the ground. Dr. Markham, I'm glad you made it. I left Washington as soon as I heard, General. I'm an admiral in the Navy. Respectable job. Excellent song. Really? I always thought the Tramps did the same thing, except better. Before my time, Admiral. The village people are only played at sporting events and 70s parties. Way of the world, I'm afraid. The best we can hope for is to be remembered fondly. Maybe you should explain what's going on. Right. We have here what seems to be a footprint. A giant, terrifying footprint. Some kind of hoof. It's hard to tell until I get back up for an aerial view, but this seems to be the hoofprint of a llama. A giant llama. Assuming it is a llama, it must be almost 50 feet tall. 50 feet? This is a disaster. Not yet, Admiral. But if a giant llama is on its way to the mainland, it will be. How can such a thing exist? The arrogance of man at work, I'd wager. How can you tell it's not a woman? What? You said man. Yeah, man, like human beings. But not all human beings are men. It's archaic. I was being poetic. You were being sexist. Mankind, then? Man again. You're obsessed. I don't know if I can deal with this toxic masculinity. What do you want from me, Admiral? I want you to stop being a bigot, Dr. Markham. How about person kind? That's not a word. No? Okay, arrogance of person kind. So that includes women? Of course. So you think women are arrogant? I don't think this is becoming a productive conversation. There's nothing more productive than showing respect. Okay, I'm going to focus on the building-sized monster that is probably on its way to California right now. Radioactive building-sized monster. What do you plan to do about this? We've never seen anything like this. I'll have to see the creature up close before I can know. Llamas aren't known to be aggressive, but whatever process created this monstrosity would almost certainly alter the brain of its victim. We need eyes along the California coast, and we need to follow these prints backward and see where they originate. Whatever you need, Dr. Markham. You've done good work for us in the past, handling some of the strangest anomalies, bioweapons, and unexplained phenomena. This time, thousands of lives could be at stake. Maybe millions. Admiral, the creature has been spotted. It's swimming toward California like you predicted. But it doesn't seem to be a llama. They're saying it looks more like a koala. Another creature? Or we're dealing with a giant, irradiated koala llama. A koala llama? A giant, irradiated koala llama. How do we handle a giant, irradiated koala llama? That is the question. We need an expert. Where do you find a koala llama expert? There are none. But we could find someone familiar with both koalas and llamas. And radiation? That's almost too much to ask. Almost. But there might be one person in the world who fits the bill, and I might know where to find her. Her? Now you're just pandering. No, Admiral, I have someone specific in mind. Oh, so you two were a thing. What? No. Childhood sweethearts, estranged for years. Dude, not everyone in a situation has to have some deep personal connection. Family member, huh? Probably haven't spoken in years. She studies koalas. She has studied llamas before, and she has professional experience tangential to the effects of radiation. I've never met her personally. AA sponsor then. Okay, I'm getting on the helicopter. Who is this mysterious woman with a deep personal connection to Dr. Markham? Find out next time on Irradiated Koala Llama! Alright, now let me present to you my pitch for a Batman movie. This pitch has nothing to do with any previously made films. In fact, I tried to use as few characters as possible from what we've seen in a live-action format. Obviously, there's going to be some overlap because all the interesting characters keep getting used. And in the sequels, I'm not going to worry about it so much. And yes, there most likely will be sequels. But don't worry, this one's not going to end on much of a cliffhanger. Alright, so the movie starts with Batman surveilling a funeral home. And inside, Arnold Wesker, played by James Woods, is supervising while thugs stuff drugs into caskets and load them and prepare to ship them out in hearses. And he's holding the puppet Scarface, also voiced by James Woods, naturally. Alright, so a vehicle approaches. And Scarface begins ordering people finish up and get all the stuff out of here, and identifies that it's Rupert Thorne's men coming, and the men get out of the car and they attack the funeral home, so we assume he's probably right that it's Rupert Thorne's guys. But Thorne's men and Scarface's men get into a fight, some of them die, people getting shot, and Batman intervenes to disarm everybody and tie everybody up. While this is going on, Scarface throws down his old-fashioned Thompson 45, and he tells Wesker to hide him in plain sight, and so because he knows Batman is there, and he's coming in. And then during this, I want Batman to even give first aid to a wounded thug and save his life, because one, that's a very Batman thing to do, and two, it's kind of important to the Batman character later in this particular story. Alright, so once Batman has immobilized everybody, Wesker just offers up his hands to be bound and he quietly declares that he owns the building and he'll cooperate and he'll talk to the police when they get there. And then so next scene we cut straight to Wesker being interviewed by Detective Bullock, played by Bill Pullman, and Flass, played by Howie Long. And Wesker is released because he owns the building, so it makes sense he was there, and there's no evidence he's anything other than a victim. So Wesker returns to the funeral home, and he calls out to Mr. Scarface, and Scarface calls back as he's walking through the halls, and Wesker joins him in the office, which is plastered in memorabilia from Wesker's days as a puppeteer and a child show performer, and he fawns over Scarface during their reunion, and it's all creepy and weird. Then we go to Haley's Circus. Bruce Wayne shows up. I really don't know who should be Batman, guys. I don't know who should play Bruce Wayne. If I think of one when I pitch the sequels, I'll give it to you, but I don't know. So we're just going to not worry about it for now. But Bruce Wayne enters VIP seating with a random supermodel as his date, and he sits down on the row in front of Rupert Thorne, played by Hugh Laurie. And Thorne engages him in chit-chat, then brags to Bruce about purchasing and revitalizing the Gotham-based circus they're watching, and tells him how after a few days here, they're going to go back on tour, and it's going to be a money-making machine, and has these ideas for Bruce to join him in a business partnership. And Bruce just plays it off as if he doesn't want to talk about business, but of course he actually knows how dirty Thorne is. But during this whole scene, the Flying Graysons perform, which is going to introduce us to a teenage Dick Grayson. I also don't know who should play Dick Grayson. Somebody young, like the character should be 17 or 18 years old. Still a teenager, but old enough that he's going to make that transition into adulthood. It's not like Bruce is going to end up raising him as a child or something. Kind of like they did with Batman Forever. Kind of like that. But I want it to obviously be a pretty young guy. So probably some unknown who's really good at all the physical parts would be the best choice. But so the Flying Graysons perform to introduce Dick. And we also see that Wesker is at the circus, not in VIP seating, obviously. And he doesn't have Scarface, obviously, because that would be weird. But after we see that he's there, we go to a parking lot. And Wesker approaches Tony Zuko, played by somebody generic. And he timidly tells him that the boss wants to talk to him. So Zuko gets in an SUV with Wesker and some of his goons, and Zuko makes some comment about not wanting to get caught as a double agent, and Scarface tells him to sabotage the circus, and they'll get him some money and get him out of town quietly, just in case Thorne is suspicious that it was him. It'll be the last thing he has to do for Scarface before he gets set up good and allowed to retire. So Zuko immediately goes back in, tells the guard he forgot his phone or something, and heads to the trapeze gear. And the Graysons interrupt. And Zuko tries to talk his way out of it, but they see the damaged equipment. So Zuko pulls a revolver, probably just like a little 38 special, maybe. But whatever the specifics, he pulls a revolver and he shoots each of the Grayson parents 3 times. Maybe get real circus performers or just real, some athletic extra types. I don't think these guys need to be big name actors or anything. But he shoots both of them 3 times each, and Dick comes running in from further down the hall, and Zuko's out of ammo, so he just punches him, just pistol whips Dick and gets away because Dick is surprised the whole scene he's running up on. And so we cut to Dick, face bandaged up, being escorted through the police station, and Flass and Bullock report to Jim Gordon, played by Jeff Bridges, to tell him that Dick ID'd a circus worker named Tony Zuko, who they're pretty sure does extracurricular work for Thorne. So their immediate response is to find Zuko, see if the Graysons were involved with any of the boss's illegal business, and then Flass sneaks off to make a phone call, and we hear him ask to speak directly with Mr. Thorne. And then we get to Thorne sitting in a meeting with Sophia Falcone, played by Nia Jax, and some other obvious gangsters. And he tells them all to figure out who Scarface is and kill him, because he is pretty sure Scarface is the one who was trying to sabotage his new business, his new legitimate business. So he also mentions that the kid fingered Zuko, so anybody who stumbles on Zuko should kill him too. Now we get kind of the exact setup with Scarface, and obviously being held by Wesker. And he's sitting in a meeting with obvious gangsters and a guy we don't see very well at first. So he's sitting in this meeting with obvious gangsters and this other guy. And Scarface says to the guy we can't see yet, "You, weirdo, you've done good work so far. The subtle play is over thanks to Zuko. You kill Thorne and you'll have work anytime you want it." Well, this guy, we see him now, and he is obviously the Joker. And probably won't ever even mention him by name in the movie. We know who the Joker is, and he'll be a bigger deal later if we ever get to it later. But I think the Joker should be played maybe by Adrian Brody. And this is a calm, menacing Joker who always seems slightly amused by whatever's going on. And he wears variations on the purple suit all film long, and have him clean cut, but his skin and hair look naturally bleached, not like amateur cosplay. Suicide Squad. But his reply is... Okay, sorry, that's the cat. I know it's picking that up. Hey, stop. Stop. But his reply is, Sounds like fun. So Scarface echoes Thorne that anyone who stumbles on Zuko should kill him because he didn't do the job right. And he can ID Scarface and all that. All right, then we get our first shot of Wayne Manor. And Alfred, played by Charles Dance, drives Dick to meet Bruce for the first time. So we cut to the inside after they've gotten all the pleasantries out of the way. And Bruce says, "Have you considered college? Technical school?" To which Dick says, "I've considered the circus." So Bruce says, I'm sure a letter from Bruce Wayne and an internship will get Mr. Haley's attention. And so now Dick is a little less standoffish and more just kind of annoyed. And he's all, "Oh, you mean Mr. Thorne's attention? He's the big boss now. I don't think Mr. Haley's into anything dirty, but it's dirty money keeping him in business." So Bruce says, "Law school then." So something like that kind of cracks Dick a little bit, and he's not quite as standoffish. Maybe a little more meat to the conversation. And Dick's like, "I don't know, maybe criminology or something, especially after all this." And he's like, "What are you trying to pay? Why are you trying to pay for it? That's not exactly fair to everyone else." And Bruce says, "Not everyone else has their parents gunned down in front of them. Why don't you stay through Christmas?" Then we get to the Joker quietly sneaking in to kill Thorne. But he finds Sophia Falcone climbing into bed with them, and she's all big and scary, and so he reconsiders. And this sequence gives us a glimpse of Alberto Falcone, played by Tom Holland, so he can be like super young, like early 20s at the most. And then we cut to Dick waiting for Bruce to fall asleep so he can sneak out. And actually, Batman is out investigating the funeral home, but Scarface is smart enough not to resume operations there. But Batman looks into Wesker's office and checks the billing information on the computer and compares it with supposedly deceased people who are being processed there, and trying to find something on Scarface or on Wesker to prove that Wesker is Scarface or something like that. So Alfred checks in and lets him know that Dick has left the house, and Batman says keep an eye on his location, but don't worry about it for now. In the meantime, Scarface is not at the funeral home because he's actually meeting with Lady Shiva, played by Jing Tian, from the lady from the Great Wall. I think she'd be good for that role. And he's hiring her to kill the Batman. And then we go to Bruce waiting for Dick when he returns. And he doesn't threaten to kick him out or revoke his college funds or anything. He just tries to talk about him, about his parents and about his pain. And Dick won't say much and, make it an interesting scene. But then the Joker has Alberto Falcone tied to a chair and all gagged up. And so the Joker says to Alberto, "When your sister shows up to save you, I'm going to kill her. But you need to know, it's nothing personal. I've been hired to do a job, and I'm trying to make a name for myself in this town. Then, I'm going to get that forklift over there. I'm going to haul her whale carcass right here in front of you. I'm going to cut her face off and wear it so it's the last thing you see while you bleed out slowly." But Batman's watching all this from across the street, and he tells Alfred he's going to go dark for a moment and focus on the hostage. But for Alfred to keep monitoring both Thorne's communication and Scarface communication and alert the police if it sounds like someone's about to get hurt. Then we get Batman incapacitating all of Scarface's men quietly until it's just him and the Joker. Hopefully make that into a really interesting sequence. And then, out of nowhere, Batman breaks the Joker's gun hand with a batarang before he's even been spotted. And then the Joker is delighted and fascinated. He's not afraid, but he goes for the gun that he dropped. But Batman just steps out of the darkness and steps on his still functional hand and breaks it too. And then he picks up the gun and breaks it down easily. And he unties Alberto, and he ties up the Joker with the same rope that he had tied Alberto up with. And he tells Alfred to get the police to his location because some of the men here are wanted. Even the Falcones will deny the kidnapping ever even happened. By the way, when they're in costume, when they're in their armor, out in the streets, they're not going to be saying each other's names, okay? Okay? You address Batman as Batman. You can address Alfred as Penny One, as they do sometimes in the comics, or whatever you want to call him. But he's not going to be sitting there with all these people all around him going, "Hey, Alfred, do this thing." How stupid is that? That's the dumbest part of Justice League, which has several dumb parts. But there's a dude right there, a criminal who's been stealing stuff right there. And Batman's all like, hey, Alfred, check this thing out for me. Now, I get it. Big city, big country, lots of people named Alfred probably. But it's just, why? Don't... Batman's better than that. Batman's more careful than that. Or like the Arkham games where he has this device on his wrist where like this picture of Barbara Gordon pops up and he's all, hey, Oracle, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, well, Bruce, blah, blah, blah. It's like, it's just stupid. It's just stupid. So no names when they're actually out at work. No names ever when Batman has his mask on. That's just a stupid little detail that is just stupid. Don't be stupid. Batman's not stupid. Contrary to what a lot of movie makers seem to think, including Chris Nolan, who made some good movies. Batman's not stupid. Batman is the opposite of stupid. Batman's a genius. That's his superpower. That ticked me off when in Justice League. What's your superpower? I'm rich. No, his superpower is that I guess it's moderately funny, but I don't really see that, especially that Bruce Wayne making jokes. But no, his superpower is that he's a genius. He's a genius, and he's super disciplined. So the super disciplined genius is not going to be using names during his covert operations. Sorry for that tangent. We'll get back to the movie here. But Batman rescues Alberto. He dumps him off down the street just as Sophia's arriving, and he disappears. And then in the cave, Bruce and Alfred talk about how one of the kidnappers, obviously talking about the Joker, will probably be in Arkham Asylum, not Blackgate Prison, and because we're driving home the point here that they've never met the Joker before. But Alfred tells them that Dick is gone again. And so they check on his location because they put GPS in his shoes or something. Batman realizes Dick has found Zuko, or at least he's headed close to where Zuko's hiding out. And so Dick's on his way there. So Batman rushes out, and we get to see the car now for the first time. And it needs to be less tank-like, more 1989 style. Batman, you know what? I will give Batman versus Superman a little credit. That car was okay. It's pretty good. So something like that, something like the animated series, but a car, not a tank, not the tumbler, a car. Cool looking car. So Dick sneaks into a worn down apartment building and he ends up fighting 4 guys at one time, including Zuko. And he subdues all of them. Just as Batman arrives, Dick is approaching Zuko. And I think it's important here that Batman doesn't physically stop him. He would if he had to, but he just successfully talks Dick out of killing Zuko. And then Batman lets Dick come along as he deposits Zuko on the roof of the GCPD and activates the bat signal. And then they go watch from a different building, and Batman tells Dick, hey, you could have killed someone tonight. And Dick replies he was only trying to kill one person. So Batman says, any regrets? To which Dick says, no, it wasn't really about killing him. I just had to do something. And so Batman tells him, well, now you did. And then Bullock makes it to the roof and comments that they were right, the signal is on. So he and Flash read Zuko's rights and mention he's lucky the Batman got to him first. And then Batman takes Dick to the cave, and Dick asks, what am I doing here? And they talk about Dick being proficient in Eskrima. Is that how you say that? Eskrima? And familiar with a few other styles, and that he was incorporating his acrobatics with his martial arts to fight 4 men at one time. And so Batman says that he failed Dick's parents just like he failed his own parents, and that all he can do is help those who are still around to be helped. So he asks Dick if he wants to bring the others responsible for his parents' death to justice without becoming a murderer. And so Dick agrees, and Bruce removes his mask. And he says he'll be learning on the job, so no killing and no going off on his own. And Dick isn't completely shocked that it's Bruce Wayne. Like maybe a little surprised. Okay, spoiler alert. I want Dick to be Batman for a few minutes later down the line, so we need to establish that he can actually do the job. And so we established that early. Plus, that lends credence to why Batman would think this kid is somebody who needs to be trained, not somebody who needs to be, restrained. But so Dick isn't completely shocked to find out that Bruce Wayne is Batman. So we cut to Wesker. Scarface realizes Batman interrupted the Joker's plan because he was spying on them. So he calls Thorne and says he's willing to negotiate a compromise instead of trying to take over Thorne's drug market. So Thorne demands they meet in person because he thinks it's worth the risk to learn who Scarface is. So they choose a public place, and Scarface hangs up and he tells Lady Shiva, who's right there, that the Batman will come once he knows there will be violence around civilians. So Lady Shiva's like, well, how will he know that? And Scarface says, because I'm about to call you on the phone and tell you to kill Thorne while we're at the meeting. Lady Shiva asks, well, should I really kill Thorne? And Scarface is like, if you find time for it. You can fight the Batman, right? Don't get me wrong, he was a scary broad, but Dummy here, talking about Wesker, Dummy here has seen him up close, and he's got at least 100 pounds on you. And then Bruce and Dick have this conversation about the armored plates and mobility and how the cape draws attention away from your body and breaks up your form if you're trying to hide, and the symbol draws attackers' eyes to your armor, away from your weak spots. And so Dick decides on his R symbol. He says if Bruce is the big scary Batman, he'll just be the nimble little Robin. And so Batman tells him to try on the suit because tomorrow night they have to stop Scarface from killing Thorne so no civilians will be in danger. Also, they can get proof that Wesker is Scarface, and then they can point the police to Wesker's fraudulent finances, which will point to the drug operation. And so Batman and Robin stake out the restaurant where the gangsters are supposed to meet. Then Thorne arrives. And they wait for Wesker, because remember, they're wanting to confirm that he's Scarface, but he doesn't show up. Instead, Lady Shiva shows up, but they don't know what the assassin was supposed to look like. So she manages to kill Thorne, and a firefight breaks out between Thorne's men and Scarface's men. Don't forget, Thorne's men includes Sophia Falcone. So Batman and Robin crash in through the window. They disarm all the gunmen. Hopefully this scene will be pretty cool. And Robin fights Sophia using his speed and his creativity, while Batman fights Lady Shiva just toe-to-toe, and she gives him a run for his money. And Robin sees Batman in trouble, so he runs over and engages Lady Shiva for a minute and gets his butt kicked long enough for Batman to recover, knock out Sophia, and then turn back to Lady Shiva and save Robin from Lady Shiva. And then so he beats her up, he subdues her, captures Lady Shiva, captures Sophia, and a bunch of other of Thorne's and Scarface's men who haven't killed each other yet. Then we cut to Wesker in his office at the funeral home, and there's a commotion outside as Batman incapacitates the bodyguards, but Wesker just remains calm, and he's all meek during the conversation, and Batman kind of shows up in the doorway behind him, and Batman says, I know you're Scarface. And Wesker's like, no, I could never be half the man Mr. Scarface is. And then all of a sudden, Scarface starts speaking and says, and all my boys know where their bread is buttered. They got families, they got reputations. Most of all, they got character. They're loyal, see? Now run along, freak. Then Wesker spins around in his seat, and he reveals Scarface sitting in his lap. This is the big reveal to Batman that Scarface is Wesker, but it's the puppet that Wesker is holding. And so the Wesker personality might not have much influence over the Scarface personality. And Scarface goes on and says, I let this nutty town get to me. From now on, me and Dummy are strictly business. You got nothing on me, and you ain't going to get it. Nothing the law will let you use anyway. So Batman's staring at the puppet for a minute, and then he looks up at Wesker, and he just says, Arnold, if you ever need to talk, James Gordon can reach me. And Scarface is all, I'm right here, Batman. Me and Wesker go way back, see? So Batman's all, he's been on the job a long time. He knows how easy it is to end up over your head. Doesn't mean you're a bad guy. And Scarface is all, shut up, freak! And he's yelling at him as Batman just kind of disappears into the shadows. And we leave it there with Scarface and the ventriloquist still loose on Gotham. And so Batman rejoins Robin on a rooftop nearby, and the camera pulls back, and they look all heroic standing there with their capes billowing in the wind, and we get our dramatic music, and the movie's over. So what do you think? Pretty simple, not a big fancy flashy special effects thing, not punching parademons in the face, just a simple kind of a crime-based Batman movie. But that's the idea. Love it, hate it. Let me know. Leave a comment. Leave a whole review for the podcast while you're at it. But that's our main event for the evening. This has been the Audio Variety Show, episode 2. Hope you guys come back for another one next week. See ya.